As Carissa starts letting folks in, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself. I am Jacqueline Flellen, and I have the privilege of being Homeword's fundraising manager. I say privilege because I truly feel that way. Fundraising can sometimes feel like sales, but it's really easy when I have a team of coworkers who are fantastic and I just get to talk about the work that we do statewide. So, welcome to our third annual State of the Organization. We're really glad that you joined us. And I am just going to go over kind of what uh, the agenda is for today as we continue to let folks in. We're going to start by hearing from our homebuyer educator, Alex Ramsing. He'll provide a couple updates on our home ownership center, and then we will be moving on to a partner perspective from Jennifer Miller, who works at Glacier Bank, a longtime partner of Homewards. She will pass it to our project development director, Heather McMillan, who will share more about our statewide projects and properties. Then our fearless leader, KT, or Carissa Trujillo, will get to talk about some of our asset management work and what we're looking forward to in the coming year. And then our board treasurer, Jason Erickson from First Security Bank, will introduce you to our newest staff and board members. And then our financial educator, Chelsea Nichols, will share about a few of our upcoming events. And our program and operations director, Julie Pavlich, will then moderate the Q&A. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand during that Q&A at the end. We are looking forward to a conversation at the end if that's what happened. Um, and so, as you know, today, as you probably know, likely know, today is Giving Tuesday. And so, our end of the year campaign theme is Home Across Montana. And so, what we're really hoping to do today with the state of the organization is highlight our work statewide and the impact that we have on the thousands of Montanans that we work with and serve. As you'll see on our slide, one of our recent annual report features and spotlights was Essence Ramirez. And in that annual report, we pulled one of her quotes where she talked about how important the affordability of living at Creekside is. She's able to put her kids in Girl Scouts and sports, and her fiance have been able to start saving for a home. And that is just one example of the many different impacts that we have on our residents statewide. And so we have a goal today beyond what I've already covered, and that is to reach $2,000. Our board of directors graciously donated $2,000 in a matching pool of funds. Some of them are here today, so shout out to the board members who helped create that fund. Thank you. And so we'll update you throughout the presentation. And if you are willing to give, Carissa is going to put the link in the chat, and we hope that you'll consider a gift. But overall, we appreciate you being here, and we hope that you enjoy our presentation. So I will go ahead and pass it off now to Alex Ramsing.
Thanks, Jack. Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Ramsing. I am the homebuyer educator here at Homeword. Um, and we are going to get a chance to talk about the Home Ownership Center. And to say that there have been changes at the Home Ownership Center this year is a bit of an understatement. It has been a very, very exciting and very, very busy year for our team. Kind of exciting and kind of fun too. Fun little tidbit. Today is officially my 1 year anniversary from rejoining Homeward. So it's been a really fantastic year. I've learned a lot. It's been a really fantastic journey. This year, I took over the role of homebuyer educator from Julie Pavlich, and my colleague Chelsea Nichols took over as our financial educator from Katie Sadowski. Both Chelsea and I passed our HUD exams this year to officially become HUD housing counselors while teaching class and meeting with clients. and we still hit our numbers for the year, which is pretty impressive. So last year we served nearly 1,000 people, over 51 counties across the state. We do both virtual and in-person classes. That was one thing that was pretty great about having Chelsea on board this year too, is having to do in-person financial education classes. We also had the Homeowners Assistance Fund this year as well. That is through NeighborWorks. Um, the Homeowners Assistance Fund was available for homeowners to help with home repairs, catching up on past due utilities, and some overdue mortgage payments as well. So keeping folks in homes is what that assistance fund was for. It was really, really useful for a lot of folks. Nope. This year as well, this started, I believe, in at the beginning of November as well. NeighborWorks launched the Home Stretch program, down payment assistance program. It's a unique product to help Montanans get that extra nudge towards home ownership. It is a program that is restricted to certain counties, and Homeword was selected as one of the organizations to help facilitate the education and counseling requirements of that program. So very cool, very unique stuff. And call us if you have any questions. If you want to go to the next slide too. Sorry, I'm talking really fast. I always talk too fast. Um, as an educator, for the folks that are on the line right now who have been a volunteer for my class, I cannot say thank you enough. We have had over 30 industry volunteers help us out this year, over 100 hours of work. They provide instructions in their field for a class. And we are always looking for new folks. I know Chelsea's looking for tax people. I'm always looking for folks doing insurance. If you know anyone that is really interested in teaching class, it is a fun experience. The people that I have as my volunteers, they love it when I reach out to them because they love teaching class and I love having them on board too. So if you're out there as one of my volunteers listening today, a big, big thank you. And it really, really helps our program. And yeah, call us if you're interested. Yeah, and now thrilled to hand it over to Jennifer Wheeler from Glacier Bank, an expert in the field of affordable housing and a longstanding partner with Homeword.
Jennifer, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I think we can see your mouth
Oh.
moving.
Nope, I gotcha.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Let's see. The word expert. That one, I kind of cringe at that. It just means I have a little experience under my belt, but still learning every day on these. So my name is Jen Wheeler, and I'm with Glacier Bank. This is actually my 25th year with the bank. I started as a processor and made my way up to lender, and somehow created kind of a niche. As the majority of what I do is rent restricted housing. That includes refinancing like USDA loans, new constructions, act rehab, purchasing property for specific individuals unhoused or kiddos aging out of the foster care system. That was kind of new for me this summer, but it was exciting. Our bank is new. We're kind of a unique in that under Glacier Bank is we have an 11 state footprint from Washington to now New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma with our new acquisition of Guarantee Bank, who will retain their name like our other 17 divisions. It's just our way of staying a community bank. We are very community oriented. I got to thinking about this when Julie reached out. It's actually part of our annual reviews as to how, as an individual, you contribute to your community by volunteer work. And it's not like, hey, I baked cookies for my kid's classroom, but actually, helping with our local food banks or being a big sister, a big brother, or dating time to, Habitat for Humanity. I myself have been part of 2 of those 3 programs, including helping kiddos who've gotten into a little bit of legal trouble with the system and helping them get back on track. And now one of my passions is people with mental illness or families that are struggling with someone with mental illness. Housing has been part of Glacier for a fairly long time, way before I first started. we actually started the Glacier Affordable Housing Foundation in 1995, providing down payment and closing cost assistance for first-time homebuyers who had incomes at or below 80% AMI. I actually was part of that with my first home. I bought my first home at the age of 19, and they did help me out with that program. And in 2002 was my first LIHTC project on a property that's just a block away from my office. And next week we will close our 99th project. Our goal was to hit 100. However, that one is looking like it's going to slip into January. And as we know, that's how projects go. We finance the acquisition and rehab, new construction. So far, we've done 5,100 units, or what I call homes, with some amazing partners, including Homeword. I started working with Homeword back in 2012 with a project that was an acquisition rehab of properties in Butte and Great Falls. And so far, we've worked together on 12 other projects, totaling about 860 units. I was quite proud when I was adding all those up. That's a pretty big number. Glacier's contributed about 125 million in financing for those, and now we are excitedly working on 3 more projects. These projects are actually kind of like boomerangs. They come back in just like 15 years. As of now, we're working on Butte and Great Falls again, and how we started back in 2012. So there's kind of a misconceptions in regards to these projects. Initially, when you hear low income, you think single parents or people on government assistance. And when I talk about what I do to people, I don't use the term low income, as it's not really accurate. The individuals who call these properties their home are hardworking individuals that cannot afford the average Montana home, which I just looked up today. It's $570,000, and that's just for a 2-bedroom. So these are our tellers, our processors, our EMS workers, such as our policemen, firemen, employees of the hospitals. There are everyday working people. Where a Billings police officer starts at 25 an hour, but someone that's starting out at Taco Bell in Bozeman is 21 to 25. So it's not in term to affordable housing. However, that's not going over very well if you're on social media. So I think we need to do a little bit more educating, just talking a little bit more to people as to what we do. Because having a space that is dry and safe to sleep it's a basic need. And we can't expect people to succeed if they don't have that. How do we make these homes affordable? Well, construction costs, they cost money. And we need significant capital to pay for these costs so the properties can end the loan that it can pay for, because just because it's built doesn't mean that rent is just excess cash for the owner. You have utilities to make sure that those tenants are safe in the parking lots to their front doors. The parking lots need to be plowed. Insurance premiums and taxes have to be paid. The latter two have been really challenging for most multifamily properties, as their premiums have gone up 200% or they get canceled altogether. The tax relief that most Montanas saw this month, unfortunately, the multifamily properties are now paying, and rent restricted properties, and they just can't raise the rent to pay for the extra costs like the market rent properties can. So hopefully this gets fixed with our next legislative session. But let's end up on a positive. So my favorite part, Julie asked me what my favorite part of doing what I do is, and it's pretty easy. My favorite part, other than just seeing the faces of the families excited about their spaces, it's our team. I really love our team. It really does take a village to put these together. We have weekly calls on projects that last sometimes 6 months every week, and sometimes there's over 20 people on a call. These projects take years from start to finish. They're complicated, and it seems like they take forever. You get to know your partners really well. And as we all work really bad hours and on weekends and on vacations, there's times when something will come up that could really kill the deal. But if you have a really good team, the problem tends to get solved. It's almost a given that something comes up on closing day. But when title sends out that message that we're closed, it's almost feeling like the surgeon coming out and telling you that your loved one survived an impossible surgery. It's just that relief is real. However, short-lived because there are more projects in the queue. So a great team is essential. And I can honestly say that the Homeward team that I work with is very much a family to me. I say team a lot, my team. I'm lucky to be part of these amazing stories because of the spectacular people contributing their knowledge and gifts and support. And the bank has been amazing in supporting these projects so that we can do what we do. So I think I tried to cover everything I wanted to. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. And now you get to hear from like probably the person, or at least one of the people on Homeward's team who she works with the most. So when Jen says team and its relationship to Homeward, Heather is quite the participant.
Thanks, Jack, and thanks, Jen. I'm trying not to wreck the plan I had of things to talk about, but it's fun to hear what you have to say because Jen and Glacier are amazing partners and we can't do the work we do without them. And so I'll introduce myself. My name is Heather McMillan. I am the Project Development Director here at Homeward. I've actually been with Homeward almost 23 years now. And that's shocking to me to be in one place that long, but what it does afford me is the luxury of knowing a little bit of history around Homeward. I was asked today to take you on a bit of a tour, and I thought I'd just give a quick background. When I started at Homeward, we were a thriving nonprofit CHOTO organization, which is Community Housing Development Organization, but we were doing projects in Missoula and had just started doing projects in Billings. Since then, and over the last 23 years, we have actually had the luxury of working in many different partnerships in many different communities around Montana. And currently we're working in, go ahead, Jack, over 14 different communities around the state. We'd like to show the map. We'd like to show where we have projects. These projects aren't done alone and in a vacuum. We have our lending partners, but we also have our development partners. So I thought today would be a really nice kind of walk through the woods, so to speak, in Montana of all the places that we're working right now and the types of projects in it. The breadth of those projects are a good illustration of the history behind kind of what we've done at Homeward over the last couple decades. So if you could go ahead and shift, let's go take a look at June Grass. June Grass Place is a project. This is a partnership project. It's new construction. We built 138 new homes at June Grass, and we did that in partnership with a great partner, GMB Development out of Seattle, Washington. The project that Jen, her first project was in partnership with GMB and Homeward in Butte and Great Falls. Same partner. We're their nonprofit partner here at June Grass. And so we were able to develop these 138 homes for the city of Kalispell. Very much needed. I believe it was one of the fastest lease ups we've ever had because that community was in desperate need of homes that people could afford. And so this was a great project. There's multiple buildings. There's community room, barbecue, bike rack, washers, and dryers, private patios and balconies, and a bunch of other family-oriented amenities of the project. So again, that's a partnership that we did, and we're a minor partner in the partnership with GMD Development. That's just one example, and we've had several of those across the state. Go ahead, Bat, and you can go to Bats. Thanks, Jack. Bats Block Apartments. This is a different kind of partnership. This was done with a sister organization. You heard the NeighborWorks reference earlier in our homeownership conversations. NeighborWorks Great Falls is our sister entity in Great Falls, Montana, and they're also previous partners with NeighborWorks Montana, and they have their own homeownership center and they teach classes, but they knew there was a stronger housing need. They do self-help and they do a lot of really great things, but they wanted to take on supportive housing. And so we had done one project in Missoula where we had done 30 supportive homes with wraparound services, and they had a very keen interest because there was a houseless need in Great Falls. And so we took a 1913 building and we did a historic adaptive reuse to the building. So the second and third floor houses 25 new homes, and it's quite beautiful. We used historic tax credits with our housing credits. Again, Jen was a partner on that, so thank you, Jen. Patience, it took a lot of patience to get through this one because we were also putting the first floor, Opportunity Inc. They're a healthcare provider out of Great Falls, and they are on the first floor. And supportive housing is a model in which you have people living and the services are readily available, and they are there and they are for those residents. There will be some opening to the outside houseless community, but for now it's focused on those residents. The building was ready in October and we were fully leased by the end of October. So that might also be one of the faster lease ups and need in Great Falls. So again, just an illustration of how we partner around the state. Nonprofit partners, we are the majority partner. NeighborWorks Great Falls, with a little less experience as the minor, but eventually, at the end of the initial period of affordability, NeighborWorks Great Falls may take on the entire ownership of that project. And that was something we could do with our development experience and their local experience and connections with all of the other organizations in Great Falls. Go ahead and switch, Jack. Creekside Apartments. This one's just us. In 2017, we got real creative, and we used a 501c3 conduit bond, Glacier and First Security Bank. We were able to use some EQ2 funds, mix that, and preserve this project in 2017. The project was going to lose. It was originally built with housing credits. It had a period of affordability that was about to expire. And so it was going to market and it was being sold to market. And so we were able to, and the restrictions would come off and it would become market rate housing right next to University of Montana. So we knew it was a hot property. We grabbed it, we preserved it at a really high rate, but we also knew that it was going to need some pretty significant rehabilitation in 5 to 7 years. And so we acquired it, held it, and put it in the pipeline. And we are just done with the first 41 homes, and the rest of the project is in process. We closed earlier this spring. The tax credit closing, which then we could start spending money and doing the rehabilitation. And so we are in the thick of it. And I have a wonderful team here, project managers. Liz, Tucker, and Julia are a huge support here. I think Liz, it goes down the rabbit hole and back every time we move people out and back into their apartments. But it's really turning out to be a beautiful rehabilitation and an extension of an affordable project here in Missoula that's much needed because there wasn't a place to live that would replace that. So I'm really excited about that. And we should be done with the rehabilitation at the end of next year. So very exciting. Go ahead and next slide. Well, we didn't, over the years, we've not done vanilla projects. And so this is not one of those either. And so in a unique circumstance, and we've done one project with Homefront before, but Homefront, the Housing Authority of Billings, procured Homeword as their developer. They've been around 50 years. They own and manage projects. They just didn't want to do development anymore. So they procured us to be their developer. And so this is the first project that we have done under the new relationship as their developer, LB Lofts and Laurel Gardens. This one is a little tricky. It's a large scale project. LB Lofts is a new construction project, 101 homes. And Laurel Gardens is in Laurel, Montana, and it's 30 preserved senior homes. And so Homefront bought Laurel Gardens. They dumped $2 million of their own money into it, got the emergency needs kept that project affordable, kept the rental subsidy in place, and the seniors stayed safe, but it still needs a good chunk of rehabilitation. And so we paired it with their LB Lofts project. This is a new project, new construction. We'll be building 101 homes, but the unique piece about that is that we are taking little bedroom units that were in North Dakota and used at the Bakken oil fields. And we are recycling them into 5 and 6 unit buildings to create 101 new homes. There'll be new infrastructure. We'll just use the best parts of those recycled pieces. We will have new central stairs and bathrooms or kitchens and living rooms as a core and kind of attach those. So more to come on that. We'll send pictures out and do social media posts as that project comes to fruition. But that combined project, we are not going to own that. We are just the developers on that. Homefront has more experience owning properties in the longer term than we do. So it's really easy to do that development and hand that over to them to manage those assets. They have their own properties. And very much needed housing in Billings, Montana. Next slide, Jack. Also, hot off the presses, in October, Homeword was awarded the first part of the financing package, the 9% housing credits from the state of Montana. We're excited because in 2019, we bought, similar to Creekside, we bought Sage Tower and Fraser Tower. Sage is an 81 unit apartment complex, has 81 senior homes. Fraser Tower has 64 homes, senior homes, and they are fully occupied and they are in much need of some critical capital improvements. About 20 years ago, tax credits were used to rehabilitate these older properties, but they only did interior upgrades. They didn't deal with the capital needs and major building systems necessary to keep the properties running and operating long term. And so, similar to Creekside, in 2019, we acquired the properties, knew that they were going to need the rehabilitation. And so this is the first steps in setting ourselves up for success in doing the rehabilitation, maintaining the senior properties, and the units also house people with disabilities. I should not forget to mention that. Very much needed housing in Billings, Montana. And I can't build a 10-story and a 6-story brick building with the resources we have today. So keeping those homes available and online and healthy are really important. So that's our newest project. That's a project where we're not in partnership. It's assets that we own and that we need to improve. And so our entire project team, Aaron and Tori, and that crew, they helped us greatly on putting these applications together, and we'll work together to bring these projects. It'll be interesting. Seniors are fun to move around, and they like to pay attention as you do the rehabilitation. So wish us luck, but it'll be a good project in Billings, and we'll get these assets long-term affordable in Billings. So that's a quick tour of kind of what we have going on at Homeward and what's new. And so I'll go ahead and hand it off to Carissa. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Thanks for the updates on our development. Hi, everyone. I'm Carissa Trujillo. I'm the executive director of Homeward. Apologies, I'm getting over a cold. It's way better than when I was whispering last week. So Jacqueline was like, who's going to do your part if you can't talk? And I told her she was going to have to do it. So she's been force feeding me honey and lemon. I'm going to talk a little bit about our asset management team and the work that they've been up to. This amazing photo of Tori with our brand new playground at Orchard Gardens we'll speak about here in just a second when we talk about the incredible portfolio improvements that this team has been up to. But first, I want to quickly just talk about our residents. We have really incredible residents, and hopefully a lot of you are getting our annual report and really receiving the news about all of the, over 2,700 Montanans that live in our property. And as you know, all of our properties are income restricted, and so folks need to income qualify. They all live at or below 80% of the area median income for whatever community they're in all those 14 communities across the state. You can see some statistics there of, we support folks who live with disabilities, we support seniors, and we also support a lot of really incredible families. These are more pictures from that annual report story that we spoke about earlier. We also are really proud to support more folks who are part of our Black, Indigenous, and people of color community. We know that there's a disproportionate number of people in that community that are living in our properties, and that's something that we're really happy to be able to have a level of diversity within our portfolio as well. So we know that when residents are paying less than market rate, on average, they're paying $400 a month less compared to if they were paying market rate. We know that allows them flexibility, like Essence talked about in her story, where they can do more things with their families. They can engage with the community a little more, and they can really start reaching whatever other goals that they have to reach when they have a little bit more flexibility with their funds because they're paying a more appropriate rental income. So let's talk a little bit about the properties that we've been working on. We've been really aggressively trying to get more grants for our existing portfolio. And we spoke about this a little bit at last year's State of the Organization for those of you who were in attendance. But it's really, we work really hard to run these properties well and efficiently, but at the end of the day, because we are charging those lower rents, our properties are never going to be able to retain enough cash flow to pay for these bigger improvements like a new roof, new sidewalks, those sorts of things. And so these grant funds that we're able to secure are really critical for us to be able to maintain these properties so that they can be affordable in perpetuity. So you saw the beautiful picture of our new Orchard Gardens playground. If I let Tori have the mic, she could just talk about that for the next 10 minutes. But we were awarded over $350,000 in City of Missoula CDBG funds. It's a community block development grant. And we've done a lot of projects at Orchard Gardens with those funds. We installed some radon mitigation systems. We cleaned the roof and added a pigeon guard. If anyone's driven by Orchard Gardens, which is there off of the Higgins Street Bridge, or I'm sorry, Reserve Street Bridge, you can see that we have a lot of wonderful pigeon community also housed there. And so we put some pigeon guards on the solar panels so that we can maintain that energy efficiency. We also installed new water heaters, replaced some heat pumps. We repaired the concrete walkways and resealed the parking lot so that it's a little bit safer for the residents as they move about. But I think that the playground is the one that we're all really excited about. That was something that was almost entirely sourced with grant funds and donations. And then we also were able to recruit a lot of volunteer time. So a lot of the vendors who actually worked on that project were volunteers, including a couple of folks here on the call on our board. So Lenox Flats is another property that we've done a lot of really wonderful updates. It's another Missoula property. It's a historic building right next to the courthouse. And we utilized the funds that we got for Lenox Flats to increase some security systems, update our heating and our HVAC system, so heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. We did some roof preservation, and then we're also working on some elevator upgrades. You can imagine that in a historic property, elevator upgrades are something that come about fairly frequently. And then Hearthstone Apartments, which is in Anaconda, is 64 senior homes. And a fun fact, actually, when I was a young child, my great grandmother lived in Hearthstone Apartments, and as is fairly common with a senior facility, they had pull cords in the bathrooms. And I don't know, 7. My mom's on the call; she could probably let us know. But I actually pulled one of the pull cords in her bathroom, thinking it was just something to play with, and some folks rushed in to make sure she was okay, and it was kind of this very embarrassing thing for my family. So I have lots of really wonderful memories at Hearthstone Apartments because of my grandmother there. We utilized funds that we were awarded from the state to install new ranges for each of those apartments with timer switches. That's a property that used to have a kitchen that would cook food for the residents, but the residents just weren't interested in that program any longer. They really were wanting to be a little more self-sufficient. And so we were able to purchase them all new ranges with timer switches. We updated all of the outlets in each of the units so that they were up to code with the GFCI outlets. And then we also added a radon mitigation system and replaced smoke detectors in each of the units, and then also completed repairs to the elevators and sidewalks. So a lot of really incredible systems being worked on through these funding sources to ensure that our properties can continue to be safe places for all of our residents to call home. And then lastly, we've heard about it a little bit from both Jennifer and Heather. We're really excited that we are moving forward with the full acquisition of the Rainbow, Silverbow, and Glacier Ridge properties. And these are properties that we've owned. We've been a co-owner with GMD Development for a long time, but we're actually able to take on their ownership portion. And so Homeward will be full owners of these 3 properties within the coming weeks. And that's something that's really important for us. The way our funding sources work, once a period of affordability ends, that there's an option to then sell that property. That's what Heather was talking about with Creekside Apartments. You can sell that property and it can become a market rate apartment. And that's obviously not something that we're interested in pursuing, as our mission is to provide safe, healthy homes that Montanans can afford. And so being able to fully take on these properties to maintain their affordability is really kind of a goal achieved in some of these early projects that we partnered with GMD Development on. So we're very excited to bring them fully into our portfolio. That means our asset management team will start managing these properties, and we'll be able to do some additional improvements like the ones I was just discussing. As we look forward, we're going to talk a little bit just about some things that are kind of coming up for us. I won't focus too long on the legislative update, but I'm sorry, Just Home is first. I'd love to talk about Just Home. We let you all know last year at the state of the organization and throughout the communications in the last year that Homeword was selected in partnership with the Missoula County Community Justice Department by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation for this Just Home project. And the idea is that can we reduce recidivism by providing a housing intervention for a targeted population? And so we actually purchased this wonderful fourplex. We call it the Cube at 603. And we decided to focus on transition aged youth, so youth who are transitioning out of the foster care system or the youth home system, and see if we can really help them see success by providing this housing intervention. So right now we have one unit rented by a couple. She is a former foster youth, and he has justice involvement in his past from when he was under 18. He had felony status charge when he was under 18. They moved in the first day of her senior year of high school, and they had been living in her car prior to moving into the cube. And they have been wonderful renters. They've made mistakes. We've worked through it with them, but they're really learning and growing and able to really succeed. And the story I have to tell is that when they were signing their lease with Tori, who's providing our property management there, the gal who was signing, she took a picture of her lease and she said, you know, I was told that I was never going to make it. Now I'm going to make it. So just providing housing for somebody can really give them that stepping stone to success. And that's something that we're really excited to continue on. We're going to continue to work with youth homes to get 3 more youth from their transitional living services program into the cube in the coming months, and really see if we can make a difference for these kiddos who have been in the foster care system or in the youth home system, and see if we can make a difference by providing that housing intervention. So more to come. Hopefully we'll have lots of really great stories for you coming up. And as quick as I can, a quick legislative update. We talked a little bit about Blue Heron Place, which is our permanent supportive housing project, 30 permanent supportive housing units here in Missoula. And that is in partnership with the Missoula Housing Authority. We have a couple of our partners from MHA here. And there are some troubles with permanent supportive housing right now, the federal funding cuts to the continuum of care. And really the federal administration is really looking at wanting to move away from the permanent supportive housing model and focusing more on transitional housing. They see it as a focus on personal accountability. And really, the challenge for us is that we see in a variety of studies that permanent supportive housing actually has higher success rates. They have an 80 to 98% housing retention rate, and fewer, utilization on ERs and hospitals, and fewer lower jail bookings, whereas transitional housing can often have a higher program exit into homelessness. And so folks who actually don't go into permanent housing, but just transition right back into homelessness, and often can cost more for success. I can pull studies if anyone wants resources, but we're working with our partners at the Housing Authority to ensure that we can maintain stability at Blue Heron Place. Sam Oliver, who's here on this call, the executive director of the Housing Authority, has a plan to address the fact that some of the housing vouchers that we use at Blue Heron Place may be cut. But I think for us, the concern is as we look at the success at Blue Heron Place and the actual reductions in jail stays, in emergency department visits that we're seeing, and the success that we're seeing for those residents, we would like to do that in other areas. Heather mentioned Bats Block Apartments in Great Falls. That's our second permanent supportive housing project in partnership with NeighborWorks Great Falls. The way that project is built, we're less concerned about that one being as impacted by this particular funding change. But if we want to duplicate this model elsewhere, for example, in Yellowstone County and Billings, it's a community that's really voiced an interest in having permanent supportive housing. We're going to have to get really creative in how we provide the funding to create and support those homes so that we can continue to provide that security for the folks who are most who are experiencing chronic homelessness in those communities. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go quickly. The next thing, so on the good news, for the first time ever, under House Bill 924, we have a statutory appropriation for housing from the state of Montana. This is a huge deal for anyone that has worked in the affordable housing industry. You know that having this statutory appropriation is going to make a big difference. And so what has happened through House Bill 924 is that there is something called the GO Trust, and the GO Trust is going to fund the Housing Montana Fund. What that means is that we have local dollars that we can spend as loan capital into the projects that we build. So we utilize the low-income housing tax credit program, but there's always going to be a gap that we need to fill. And so now we have a new local funding source, a Montana-based funding source for the first time ever, not federal funding sources. So more to come. We're really excited. That program will likely launch in May, and we're already figuring out how we can add it into the projects that Heather was discussing. And with that, I think I am done. Oh, no, I'm not. Just kidding. I have 2 more slides. Jack, I told you I would go fast. Plan giving is an incredible way for donors to give beyond a cash or check. And so I know we've been talking about the Giving Tuesday effort here today, but this is something that we've seen a lot of folks really interested in doing. As the baby boomer generation ages, they're looking at different ways to have, donor advised funds, family foundations, and benefit designations. Last year at our 30th anniversary party, we secured 30 commitments from people to place Homeward in their estate plans through this Keys to the Future Legacy Society. So if you're interested in joining, please reach out to Jacqueline. This is something that we're really proud of. We recently lost a longtime activist and friend of Homeward's, Ethel McDonald, who happened to be my junior high English teacher as well. And I sit on the board of directors for her Ethel McDonald Charitable Foundation. And she decided she had a rental that she maintained affordable, and she rented specifically under market. And she donated that to the local land trust here, Front Step Land Trust, and her son is planning on donating her primary residence to them as well. And not only has she done those things, and she's trying to ensure affordability, but she also took a lot of her investments and put it into this charitable trust. And we, as the board, will be able to continue her work through the trust with just the interest that her trust is earning, not even dipping into the principal. So there are ways to do this in giving out into the community. And so if you have any questions about ways to engage with plan giving, please definitely reach out to Jacqueline. And last but not least, a couple of really big accomplishments for us before I hand it off to Jason to talk about our new board and staff. Homeward was selected as a member of the Housing Partnership Network this year. This is a national network of housing nonprofits and for-profit entities that we are the only Montana representative that was selected for this group. We're really excited. I actually leave tomorrow morning for my first conference, my first HPN conference. We were connected to the Housing Partnership Network through our partner at the MacArthur Foundation, actually. And so really excited for that honor and being able to network with folks who do this work nationwide so that we can help problem solve around things like the new legislation with permanent supportive housing. We talked a lot about the funds that we received this year. We've gotten really incredible grants, CDBG and home grants from the state and City of Missoula, City of Billings, and the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Award that we received for the Towers project. And then we had a couple of historic preservation awards that we wanted to make sure you knew about for our Bats Block Apartments and Crowley Flats project. Both absolutely gorgeous buildings. Make sure you take a peek at our website if you haven't seen those photos. We love a good historic rehab because those old buildings they've got a lot of history and beauty. Okay, now I'm done, and I'm going to hand it off to Jason Erickson. Jason is the treasurer of our board and a member of First Security Bank.
Thanks, Carissa. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. Like Carissa said, my name is Jason Erickson. I serve on the board as treasurer and then work at First Security Bank here in Missoula as a commercial lender. And, when I'm not doing those things, spending time with my family, my wife, Amanda, and my kids, Ella and Hunter. And I'm very excited to introduce some new staff and board members to those on the call today. So I think let's get started. We'd like to start with our new financial educator who's been mentioned, Chelsea Nichols. Welcome, Chelsea. Chelsea, as Alex mentioned, recently passed her HUD exam, which is a great accomplishment and is going to make Chelsea a really great resource to our clients. So congrats again on that. Chelsea joined Homeward in 2025, and she brings a lot of heart to her work. She leads our financial skill building classes and also does one-on-one counseling. As a mother, raising children in Montana, she certainly understands firsthand the challenges that a lot of our clients face, which is going to make her, wonderful at this role. That perspective, I think fuels her passion and helps her build strong relationships with our clients. Chelsea was born and raised here in Missoula. Outside of work, she likes to stay busy training for races, which I personally don't do, and spending time with her boyfriend and her son. She holds an AAS degree in medical information technology, and her customer service and medical billing background give her a unique lens and into kind of the tough times that some of our clients face. So with that, I'd like to welcome Chelsea again, and thanks for being on our team. Next is our administrative specialist, Caitlin Opperman. Caitlin first worked with Homeword back as our sustainable development intern back in the summer of 2023. And we were excited to welcome her back on a full-time basis in 2025 in her new role. So as an administrative specialist, Caitlin supports every department and is often the first point of contact for our between Homeward and the public. She manages registrations, class schedules, conference room calendars, and also supports communications and fundraising, updates to the board portal, and also tracks the impact of our program. So you can see just a myriad of things that she's involved with. She's got a bachelor's degree in environmental science from the University of Montana with a concentration in sustainable livelihoods and communities. She's got great organizational skills. She calls herself a neat freak, which I think is going to come in handy for us. So I think obviously our office is in very good hands. So again, welcome to Caitlin. Last on the new staff front, we've got Tucker Prescott. Tucker is a new project manager for Homeward. He joined the organization in September of 2025. He brings a strong project management experience and a deep commitment to building affordable housing across Montana. Tucker served 14 years in the United States Air Force. His military experience provided great project management coursework, and his associate's degree has prepared him well for the fast-moving and complex nature of our development work, which I think Heather kind of alluded to earlier. In his role, he helps guide projects from conception to completion and ensure that they kind of fit with Homeward's mission, vision, and values. Tucker's known for his curiosity and eagerness to learn. He's great at asking questions. Outside of the office, he enjoys fly fishing, hunting, and spending time outdoors with his 3 boys. And he's been a great addition to our development team. So welcome to Tucker. And lastly, our newest board member, Alex Basil. I'm excited to welcome Alex. Alex serves as the Chief Financial Officer at Jackson Contracting Group. Jackson's been an incredible partner for Homeward over the years. There's a great synergy and connection there. Alex as a CFO brings, great expertise to our board. He'll provide tremendous benefit in terms of financial leadership and long-range planning. In terms of a little bit of background on Alex, he grew up in Dillon, studied accounting and management information systems at the University of Montana. Moved away to Portland for a little while, but returned to Missoula back in 2019. He's like I said, he's got great financial expertise, strong commitment to expanding affordable housing across Montana. And when he's not working or serving on our board, he enjoys running, skiing, and like I know, keeping up with his kids. So welcome to Alex. I would close by just saying it's truly, it's an honor to work with the fellow board members. I think Holmes has such a high level of committed folks, both with board and staff, and it's humbling to be a part of this group. I will say that, being on the board for 4 or 5 years. So thanks to all of you for the great work that you do. Before it's back, I do want to just say, for those that haven't given yet, I would ask you to please encourage you to make a gift on this Giving Tuesday. And with that, I wanted to check in with Jack and see how we're doing, Jack, on our fundraising goal to meet our match.
Thanks, Jason. I'm trying to keep up with all the different screens, but I do have my calculation. We have raised $1,030 so far this Giving Tuesday. So we are about halfway to our goal. So thanks to everyone who's already given, especially those board members with that 2K match. So yeah, thanks, Jason, and welcome to all of our members as well. I'm gonna hand it over here to Chelsea, and I'll ask Carissa maybe to post that link one more time in the chat for giving. And she'll introduce some of our upcoming events.
Thank you, Jack. That is amazing. It is awesome to see the fundraising is doing well. So thank you all for donating. We really do appreciate that. So my name is Chelsea, as Jason mentioned. I am one of the newest members to the Home Ownership Center, and it's nice to meet you all virtually. As the newest staff member, I would hope that I get the opportunity to meet you all for one of our upcoming events. So first, we are hosting our holiday party and open house on Wednesday, December 17th. This is from 4 to 6 p.m. in our conference room. So please feel free to bring your kiddos, drop by at any time. We will be providing snacks and refreshments. We also hope that you guys save the date for our annual fundraiser. This is our Sustainable Communities Benefit Luncheon, and this is on Thursday, March 12th. Jack told me that we do have a few of our regular table hosts here in the room today, and I'm excited to get to join that list and fill my own table of 10. Now I'm going to hand this off to my incredible boss for a Q&A. Thank you all for being here, and I look forward to meeting you.
All right. So if anyone has any questions, I have not looked at the chat once, so I don't know. Okay, if there's no questions in the chat, feel free to raise your hand or take yourself off mute if you'd like to ask questions about any of those statewide properties or legislation or hear from our partner at Glacier Bank. We're happy to answer any questions, or also if you just want to love up on us and share some of your thoughts, we would appreciate that too, so that it's not silent for this portion. I'm like, who am I going to ask to unmute?
Well, I'm pretty excited the playground's done.
There we go, Tori, my girl, coming in. I was like,
I
all right, I'm just
mean,
gonna do that teacher wait where I sit here until someone answers.
I can't help it. I mean, there's a little bit still left to do, but it's all done. It's built. It's stable. There's pea gravel down. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so happy about it. I love that my picture was on there. It made me smile.
Mm, cool. Okay, well, if I don't see any hands raised or comments, so I think, we can end it out by just saying thank you all so much for attending our third annual State of the Organization. A huge shout out to all of the presenters, especially our partner from Glacier Bank, Jen, who made time to share her perspective with us, and our board members who showed up and presented as well. Thank you all. We're excited about the work that we do and the work that we're going to be doing moving forward. So yeah, we just want to say thanks. I don't know, KT, if you want to close it out at all and just say a quick goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for being here. It's always fun to sort of reflect on what we've done in the last year and look forward to the future with you. And so if you do have any follow-up questions, you're welcome to shoot any one of us an email or reach out by phone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.